Hi, Esther Kish is trying. Oops, reconnected now. Hey, Esther Kish here from Born to Influence, and this is going to be the second time I'm trying this live stream, because in the first one we didn't have sound somehow, which I was talking for like 7 minutes before I realized it, because Apasara was so nice. She left me a comment about it. So let me know if you can hear me, please, just to make sure that this time you're getting it right. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and I'm going to share it to my personal profile. This live stream today is all about how to 10x your rapport and your level of connection and relationship with your influencers and people that you're connecting with when you're doing your publicity campaign and doing all these interviews. And I also asked earlier in a Facebook post to leave me your questions if you have any around publicity and how to basically grow your influence. And I got a couple, so we'll definitely make sure to cover those. And for you, if you're watching this right now and you have any burning questions, please just leave it in a comment, and I'll be able to answer it for you. Hopefully, we'll see about that. I'll be able to answer it for you today. So let me just share this really quickly. This is so fun. Did you guys see, by the way, the new feature on Instagram, the new Instagram stories? I tried it today, and just making an announcement about this particular live stream. So it's just like a little test. Let me know if you have tried it and how it's working for you. And I'm curious how it will work in connection with Snapchat. Like, is it going to replace it, or is it something more of an alternative for people who prefer Instagram? Let me know your thoughts about that, and then also your questions for this stuff, for increasing rapport and influence. Okay, this goes to my personal. It always feels like pulling off a magic trick, but I think I got it. Okay. Yep. Hey, so if you're tuning in right now, I'm Esther Kish from Born to Influence, and this live stream today is all about how to increase the level of rapport and influence that you have with your speaking partners, people who are connecting with you when you are doing your publicity campaign, whether it's high-level influencers who have a large social media following, or podcast hosts or producers, editors, journalists. What we want to look at is for you to have a way of building a true relationship, so that it's not transactional, that really you're building slowly friendships over time. And if you're watching this live right now, definitely leave me a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from, and also what your questions are around publicity and around increasing the rapport and the level of influence that you can have. Because if you don't maximize it, it's almost like a waste of opportunity. Yeah, you will get exposure and you will get stuff done and get leads and sales for your business, but if you're not focusing on building those relationships, you're missing out on a lot. And I want you to have the best chance for becoming somebody who has a truly high-level network, because you know the saying, your network is your net worth. You want to make sure that you're surrounded by people who consider you a trusted advisor, a resource, a friend, and somebody who they can rely on, because the more you're able to help them, the more they'll be able to help you as well. So if you have any questions, definitely type it in the comments. And in the meantime, I have two that were left on my page earlier, so I'm just going to start with those. And the first one was from Adam, and he asked, what are some of the most likely questions you should be ready for when talking to the media in the entrepreneurial space? So are there any specific questions that you recommend training for? And Adam, I'm so glad that you asked this question, because I know the space that you're going after, and it's maybe it was instinctive on your part, but it's really true that there are a few questions, about 20, 25, that come up regularly in the marketing space, in the entrepreneurial types of podcasts specifically. And I'm going to send you a PDF. I actually have gathered it because I always give it to my clients ahead of time so they can be prepared. But just to give you briefly an idea, there are things like, what is your entrepreneurial journey like? What were some of the biggest obstacles that you had to overcome, and being able to tell it in a way where you're telling a story, right? And then being able to give them specific advice on how to, the top 3 tips on, building, like for example, in your case, you have the basketball page. Oh, thank you for the likes, guys. That's so sweet. I love it. So giving them, like, for example, specific step-by-step advice on how you built the business with the basketball page, and how you grew it to having a follower, well over 1 million followers on that page, right? So things like that, where they would be able to take the essence of what you're teaching and have almost a blueprint where they can just take action on it. That's one. Then they will ask things like, what keeps you up at night, or a favorite quote that you have, something that motivates you. What's your motto? What is the biggest lesson that you've learned? There is a bunch of things. If you just start listening to some of these shows, like for example, Entrepreneur on Fire, John Lee Dumas' show, or Mixergy, or although he doesn't repeat the questions, but it will give you a good sense. Those are some of the bigger shows. Or the Bacon Wrap Business with Brad Costanzo. That's a really good one as well to check out. Or Nathan Latka's show, which is all about numbers. Hey Michelle, how are you? I'm going to get to your question in a second. I know you left me one on my Facebook. So just figuring out what are some of the trends and the things that they are keep coming up, and what would you answer if it came to you. Now, I'm going to send you the PDF. And by the way, for all of you guys who are watching either right now live or later on the replay, if you would like to have that PDF with the frequently asked questions during podcast interviews, I'm happy to send it to you. It's completely free of charge. It's my gift to you. Just leave a comment that, yes, please send me the FAQ, and I'm going to send it over to you, okay? So just let me know if you want it, and also if you have questions. And then for Adam, for you, what we're going to do is really have an in-depth conversation about who is your target market, what do they need to hear and believe in order to want to take the next step with you, and then based on that, craft your content, pull out the stories and examples and case studies that would relate to that on an emotional level. So you'll want to be very intentional about the message that you're sharing, and alternate between stories and specific examples and things that people can go home with and feel like, I understand this, I can apply it in my business, and it takes me a step closer to where I want to get to. And then for the specific questions, the frequently asked questions, like I said, you'll receive the PDF. And again, it's available to all of you guys. Just let me know if you want it, and I'll send it over to you. Leave a comment. Oh, I love these little faces popping up. Thank you so much for all the likes, you guys. It's really fun to see this. Okay, second question was from Michelle, and so good that you're here live now, because I have a question back to you. So your question was, I would love to hear your tips or suggestions for introverted types to increase their influence. Well, I talked to reconnect. Hopefully you can see me. Oh, I'm back. Is it for you, for yourself, or is it for somebody you're thinking of specifically who you feel is very introverted? I'm asking this because we spoke a couple of times, and it seems to me that when you're talking about your area of expertise, you're very confident and you come across very assertive. So I wouldn't worry about it, but let's just say it's for you. Being introverts, like sometimes I feel like we put ourselves into one of these two groups, introverts or extroverts, and then, oh, it's for you and for your clients as well. Perfect, we'll address both. And then we feel like, well, if I'm an introvert, I'm supposed to behave this way because that's what all the personality tests say, that this is typically how I behave in social situations. Or if I'm an extrovert, then basically I'm a blabbermouth. And that's just so not true. For I'm an introvert, and I'm like, I really don't even like to be around people if I don't have to, except if I like them and if it's a small group. If it's a huge conference with thousands of people, it's not that I can't handle it, but it's not my preference. So just think about that. Where do you fall on the scale? Because it's not so black and white that introvert or extrovert. It's really situational, depending on how confident you feel about what you have to deliver. And even if you're completely introverted, or if some of your clients, like you say, are very introverted, just make sure that they have this distinction that it doesn't necessarily equal shyness. Like, let's just say if you're talking to your mom, right, and you're driving in the car and she's sitting next to you in the passenger seat, like, that's the easiest way to talk to someone, because you feel like there is nothing to perform, there is no pressure, there is no judgment, and a lot of your focus is actually on the road, and you're looking at the traffic and, turning and giving the signals and everything. So the self-consciousness aspect of having to, when you're explaining something to somebody who is just sitting next to you, is all gone because your focus is on something else. And you can apply this to doing interview. I hope you guys can see me. Okay, it's back. Keeps disconnecting and reconnecting for a second. I don't know why. So just make that distinction in your mind that it's not about you. First of all, they want to know your story, and they want to know how to get the results that you're able to help them get, but it's really not about you. They want to know how it applies to them. So you're there to help them. And when you're conscious of that and you're thinking about that person and putting all your focus and attention on them and making sure that they really get it, they understand, and they're able to apply it, and you're delivering it in a way that is clear and somewhat entertaining, if that's your personality, if you can crack some jokes or have a little banter with the host, that will be really helpful to create an atmosphere where the other person feels safe and they feel like they're talking to a friend. And one way to do this is to do a little research. It always helps if you do your homework and you know exactly what are some of the things that will happen during that interview. So, like, for example, how we were talking about frequently asked questions, or if they have specific questions that they will have just for you during that interview, you want to know that ahead of time. But also knowing about that person specifically who you're about to go in and do an interview with. Do they have pets, or are they passionate about fitness? I'm back. Hey Chip, so nice to see you. Chip, we are talking about interview skills, so if you have any questions, please type them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. So Michelle, going back to you, so doing your research and then figuring out how to create a way of feeling like we are friends and we've been friends for a while. So if you know that that person is passionate about fitness, or they have a dog, and you probably will even know the dog's name just by looking them up on Facebook or Instagram, right? Like all those little things, so that you can have a little pre-chat before the interview and just say hi to them. Oh, another thing, let's say you created this interview opportunity for yourself where you've been emailing each other or Facebook messaging. When you actually talk for the first time, there is a couple of minutes before they hit the record button. So if you say something like, hey, so nice to finally connect with you beyond just Facebook, saying something like that, do you see how I did that? It doesn't feel like, oh, nice to meet you, and having that handshake kind of awkward energy. It feels like it's somebody who you've been already connecting with for a while. And it's true, because you have been messaging and setting it up and doing all the logistic stuff for it. Now it feels like they are being welcomed to your space. Even though technically the other person is the host, you're creating the energy where you're holding a space for them. And one way to do that is to think about that person ahead of time before you even meet them, and just try to describe them in terms of nouns. So even if you don't know them, just by the little bit of research that you've done, you will know that this person seems like they're very friendly and very outgoing, or they are very knowledgeable, or passionate about fitness, whatever. Describe them. You quiet your mind and just think about it in terms of nouns, so in terms of things, rather than what is he like or what is she like. So for example, he's fun, he is wisdom, he is kindness, use compassion. Like all of those things will come to you, and it may feel in the beginning like you're making it up, but it actually allows you to hold a space energetically where when they finally connect with you, it's almost like you've known them for a long time. And you don't want to be overt about it and say that I did some woo-woo magic right on you. No, nothing like that, but just allowing them to truly connect with you on an energetic level and opening that energetic pathway before you ever even get to talk to them will really, really help with that. Another thing is, of course, on the practical side, to make sure that you're prepared. Oh, Michelle says, great. Yeah, I'm glad that it was helpful. And if you have any other questions, then please just type them in. And another thing is that be sure that you're prepared and you have little reminders for yourself. So like, for example, right now, I'm talking to you just based on what I think should be shared, but there are a couple of talking points that I jotted down because I want to make sure that I will mention the PDF with the frequently asked questions. Hey Danielle, so good to see you. And, you know, and about the whole notion of it's not about you, even if it feels like you're being put on the spot because they're questioning you. You want to make sure that you shift your focus, that it's all about the other person. As long as you go in with great intentions and wanting to make the host look good, they feel comfortable. And so now all that trust that that audience for that host, towards that host has, that will transfer to you as well. You will be automatically included in that bubble of endorsement and celebrity and credibility and trust, because the audience can see and feel and hear how you guys get along really well. And so if the person that they trusts you, then there's no reason why they shouldn't. Does that make sense? And then one more thing that you can use, whether you are an interviewer or an interview guest. This is something I learned when I watched an interview with Oprah, and somebody, I don't remember which interview it was, but somebody asked her that what are some of the key learnings or key takeaways after she finished the show, the run for 25 years, and now she's starting a network. What are some of the things that you notice that people always ask, or something along those lines? And she said that everybody wants validation. They want to feel like it's okay in one form or another. They want to feel like the interview that they've done, their performance was good enough and that Oprah would approve. And it's not just for Oprah, it's all the time like this. So how can you use that? What I started doing when I'm doing interviews for my show, for Born to Influence, or when I'm being interviewed on other people's shows, after we are done, we finish the recording, I ask, how do you feel? And that person will just suddenly open up. And they have, if you've done it right, you have that rapport and you have that friendship type of conversation and have a few good laughs. But when you ask this, how do you feel? They say, oh my God, I think it went really well. Thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. They say stuff, but then they will start talking about specifics as well. Like, oh, I would have loved to include this, or this was really cool. I think it will be very helpful for our audience. These are bits and pieces of information that will allow you to have another door open for you and to have even more opportunities, because now you're continuing a true friendship type of conversation. You're discussing not your performance per se, but like how they feel about it, and it will bring up other topics that, you know, like I would have loved to go more in depth about this specific thing. Oh, maybe we can do another interview about that, or maybe I could write something about that for your blog. Whatever it is, and it will inspire ideas in the other person as well. And most likely they will offer you referrals or introductions to other show hosts, which will help you increase your media campaign and your publicity campaign even more. And at the same time, they're now feeling like they're helping you, they're invested in you, so that level of rapport with the friendship that you're starting to build here got just that much deeper. So you never want to say, okay, thank you, we are done and I'm running off. Ask them, how do you feel? and then allow them to start talking to you and to develop another 5 to 10 minutes of a conversation that will bring you even more opportunities. And this is something that you can use outside of the interview situations as well. Just simply when you're done with a meeting, or if you're done, let's just say you go to a conference and you've been speaking, or maybe even if you were just an attendee and you're leaving for the day, you just ask the other person that you're talking to, how do you feel? And they will give you so much information and so much insight, and it will inspire a whole other conversation that, hey Sue, so good to see you. It will inspire a whole other conversation that can take you to some things that you could not have even possibly thought of and imagine that you would want from that person. So it will just open the doors for more opportunities for you. All right, let me see if we have any more questions here, or in my other Facebook on the laptop, the personal. And then if you have any questions around increasing your rapport with the people that you're talking with and increasing your influence, we talked quite a bit about being an introvert and also about how to prepare for any type of specific questions ahead of time. If you have any other questions, if you're just joining in, please leave a comment and I'll be sure to answer them. And then let me just see what we have here. Oh, we have a bunch of likes, which is nice. Okay. It's so funny when you see your friends commenting, even if they're not entrepreneurs. Really, really cool. And liking. Thank you so much for the hearts, you guys. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And I think that's it for today. Just thinking if there was anything else I wanted to share. Just be clear with your intentions. That's all it comes down to, because when you're going in with wanting to give more than what you're getting out of the situation at this very moment and every moment thereafter, well, Gary Vee calls it leverage, right? I always want to give 51% more than what I'm taking, because then I have leverage. That's the tactical and cerebral way of thinking about it. But also just from an energetic standpoint, when you're known as a giver and as somebody who can always be counted on. And that doesn't mean, by the way, that you're saying yes to every single opportunity, but just not there to get something out of this situation right at this moment. People will really pick up on that, and it will help you with allowing them to feel comfortable with you and to start developing a much, much deeper level of rapport. And that's how your influence grows as well. So if you think about it, when we think of influencers, especially in the entrepreneurship space and social media space, a lot of people immediately equate it to being an author or having this huge following on social media or being featured in the media, or regular media all the time, all that stuff. That's true, but really what it is being able to get other people to take action on what you say, or to even want to know what your thoughts are, because it will impact how they're making their decisions. And when you're doing your interviews, you're basically connecting with influencers, people who have a platform. So now you're building your own following and everything, but you are also in a special situation because you're becoming someone who is influencing the influencers. So being strategic about it and picking out who are some of the people who are connected to others, who you want to be connected to, and then asking for those introductions when it feels right, not like right out of the gate that, hey, can you introduce me to so-and-so, New York Times bestselling author? It may not be right like in the beginning, but 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, when you've been putting in a whole lot into that friendship and you've been giving and giving and giving, it will be absolutely not just okay and acceptable, but they will want to help you. And if you read the book by Dr. Cialdini, it's called Influence, there is a point that he makes around commitment and consistency. So when somebody says something that they will do, or they announce the particular fact that they've done, whether it's true or not, they will keep to that, because in their own mind they have to be consistent with what they've already done. And it's the same kind of thing when you're building your relationships. When you're giving and giving and giving, the other person wants to give back to you. And once they have just done even one little thing for you, the commitment and consistency will kick in subconsciously, and now they want to do even more for you. Now, your job obviously is not to abuse that, but to give and give and give again and again to them as well. And you'll see that just being consistent about building out new relationships, and we talked about it in a previous live stream, if you reach out to just 2 new people a week, a year from now you will have 100 contacts or 100 people that you initiated contacts with. And when you're investing in this and putting in the time and giving them the help and the resources, links to the articles, introductions, anything that you see they need, whether it's business or personal, don't just help them with their business, but whatever way you're able to help them without appearing desperate or looking like you're trying too hard, because that's another thing too. If you're always in their inbox, that's not cool, like every day. You want to make it in a way where it feels right and natural, and just allow it to unfold. And so a year from now, you could have literally 100 people who you didn't have before, who are all eager to help you. Have you ever noticed how in the internet marketing space, how the affiliate launches go, the big launches, right? There's just a few people who are mailing for those same products at the same time, and then they take turns and they do it for each other. It's not by chance. It's because they develop those friendships over time. And of course, they have the credibility, they have the list size, they have the following, all that stuff, which you will have as well when you build it out. But it's the same idea. To get into the inner circle, but it's not going to happen by chance. You have to build it. You have to make a conscious effort to actually start inviting people to your space, making them comfortable, and giving them, contributing to them consistently over time. And you'll be amazed at the opportunities that come to you. It really, really works. I see it with my clients. I see it in my own business. It's just so cool. And all it is being a kind, decent person who wants to help others. It's not rocket science at all. All right, last chance for questions. I'm going to look on my laptop too on the personal profile. I think we got a lot of likes. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in. If it's your first time, I want to remind you that you can get the frequently asked questions PDF completely free of charge. Just leave me a comment that I would like to have that, so that you can be better prepared for your podcast interviews. If you're watching the replay, same thing. Just leave me a comment that you want it, and I'll send it to you. And if you're not part of my community yet, come on over to borntoinfluence.com/gift. I have a really cool thing for you there. It's a media positioning checklist that will help you with how to write a compelling, effective bio, how to do your headshots, all freebies, all that basic stuff that you need to have better results when you're pitching yourself and when you're actually doing your interviews. So you can get that free of charge at borntoinfluence.com/gift. And as for the live stream, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And if you liked it, definitely hit subscribe on Facebook so that you'll be notified next time I do one, and share it with your friends if you found it helpful. Thank you so much, you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.